Welcome to Gemara Academy. In this class, we will learn Taisus Divrei Maschel, Ve'ela Da'ader Ve'itkar Mi Mechayev. Let's begin by looking at the flowchart so we can see what Taisus is coming to explain. So here in the Gemara, we had the question that Rav Acha bar Abaya asked Ravino. He asked him, what was the question of Rav Bibi bar Abaya? If we look at the question, we'll see that there's no way we could actually make sense of it and fit it into the words of his question. Rav Bibi bar Abaya asked, what's the din if somebody placed donut oven on Shabbos, and it didn't yet bake, but it's going to bake? Did they permit him to remove it from the oven before it comes to a chiyuv chatas, or did they not permit him? The issue is that removing bread from an oven is also with the rabbanon. So did the rabbanon remove their isser and allow the person to remove the bread so it doesn't come to an isser terah, or did they not permit the person to remove the bread and they left their isser in place even though it'll lead to an isser terah? Rav Acha bar Abaya asked Ravino that if we look at the possible ways of looking at this case, we'll see that there's no way to interpret the case that it should both make sense and fit into the words of Rav Bibi bar Abaya. And briefly, just to present the various ways that we could look at the case. One is that the person put it in by mistake and never came to realize his mistake. He was shegig from beginning to end throughout. Then the question is, what does it mean? Did they permit him to remove it? Did they not permit him? Who's the him? This individual is completely unaware that he did an avera. The second way of looking at the case is that he originally did a shegig by mistake, but then he realized his mistake and now he wants to remove it. And that's the question: did they permit him to remove it, or did they not permit him? But then it doesn't fit into the words of Rav Bibi bar Abaya, because Rav Bibi bar Abaya says, did they permit him to remove it before he comes to a chiyuv chatas? There is no chiyuv chatas in this case. Chiyuv chatas is only applicable when a person is shegig throughout, from beginning to end. This individual was originally shegig, but then he realizes avera. He's not anymore in a state of shegig, so there is no chiyuv chatas. And the third and final way of looking at the case is that he put it in b'mezid. And now the question is, did they allow him to remove it from the oven, not to come to a isser terah b'mezid or not? Once again, it doesn't fit into the words of Rav Bibi bar Abaya, because it says kedem shiyavel de chiyuv chatas. This is not a chiyuv chatas if somebody did it b'mezid. There the issue is skila. So that's the part of the Gemara Tosfos is going to focus on. The second way that we said doesn't make sense, that if he did it originally by mistake and then realized it doesn't fit into the words, it wouldn't be a chiyuv chatas, since there's only chatas when a person's a shegig throughout. So the Gemara asked that if the person realized that he put the bread into the oven and now wants to remove it, there's no chiyuv chatas. And Tosfos will ask why the Gemara didn't answer that the question of Rav Bibi bar Abaya was regarding an isser chatas. Why don't we just say that Rav Bibi bar Abaya changed the words, not kedem sheyavel de chiyuv chatas, but rather kedem sheyavel de isser chatas? Let's see the Tosfos inside in the flowchart. So in the Gemara, we had the question of Rav Bibi bar Abaya, and we said it can be a case that the person originally did it by mistake and then realized, because then it won't fit into his words, because it says kedem sheyavel de chiyuv chatas. There is no chiyuv chatas in this case, since chiyuv chatas is only when it's shegig from beginning to end. Says Tosfos, he asks the question, Tema, it's a wonder. Why don't we just say, Ema kedem sheyavel de isser chatas? Why don't we say that Rav Bibi bar Abaya's question is referring to the case where it was originally shegig, then the person came to realize. And so why does it say chiyuv chatas if there's no chiyuv chatas? We should say, change the words to kedem sheyavel de isser chatas. This is not a case of a chiyuv chatas. It's lacking a condition that the end should be b'shegig. So it's a case of an isser chatas. There's an isser chatas involved. There's no actual chiyuv, since the condition is lacking, that it should be shegig throughout, but it's a case of chatas, since the beginning was b'shegig. So why don't we just say that Rav Bibi bar Abaya's question was kedem sheyavel de isser chatas, change the word from chiyuv chatas to isser chatas. And Tosfos says it's not a baseless question. That's exactly what we actually do at the end. The final answer that the Gemara presents, one of the two answers, and it's the second answer that we have no question on. The answer we give is that it's referring to a case that he did it b'mezid. And what about the fact that there was no, it's not a case of a chatas, mezid is a case of skila. We said, Ema, say the question of Bibi was, kedem sheyavel de isser skila, before it comes to an isser skila. So he changed the words, number one, from chatas to skila, and number two, we changed from chiyuv to isser, because there's no actual chiyuv skila in this case. We're not going to discuss the reason for that right now, but the bottom line is there's no actual skila, so we changed it from chatas to skila, and from chiyuv to isser. So why don't we just also give us an answer that it's a case of shegig, and then he realized, and change it from chiyuv chatas to isser chatas. So to summarize, Tosfos simply asks, why don't we present as an answer in the Gemara, the Rav Bibi bar Abaya's question was kedem sheyavel de isser chatas, in the cases that he originally did it b'shegig and then came to realize his mistake.